Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. Today we got the slow Shitbox Showdown, another one of my events, and this time around we are using the lightest performance class that the TWL community has figured out, but we are not using them with the usual 150 horsepower engine. We are going with 90 horsepower plus turbocharger, so slightly over 100 horsepower in total, and we are going to be using different tracks than usual. So let's get going. We are starting with Seogupo, whatever, mini GP. More than 10 laps here. I don't remember fully how many. It might have been somewhere close to 15. And we have a nice and mixed field between a lot of different participants and different vehicles, even seeing very different tunes for the same one. Steven in front of me having the same car as I am, but since we are not going with fully upgraded cars, I decided to forgo the usual white body kit. So let's get going. Countdown is on. We have 9 participants and we are going to start now for one of my tracks here. Harsh left, maybe a bit tough with all the people participating. Definitely a lot going on in the first corners, and it's not going to be too much better from now on. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that 2CV driver over there. Seemed to be a bit top heavy. A few other people had a run in here, and yeah, this is why I'm using this track for these cars, because it would otherwise be potentially even more chaos if we had something faster or larger. This is definitely better for small and slower cars, but I like this track a lot. It has a decent flow, so I wanted to use it for something. I tried upgrading multiple cars for this purpose, and yeah, I'm just completely getting caught off guard by the bumpiness of the sidewalk there. While I left it open as an option with how I placed and extended the checkpoints, you are really not supposed to go on there with how rough it can be. Yeah, I'm just fighting for positions here. It's a lot of back and forth, getting a position, getting pushed down a lot again, making a mistake and losing another place, and yeah, we're going to see how it stabilizes at some point, hopefully. But yeah, I just love especially this little chicane and right and turn combination. If you get the line right, if you can do it without anybody close by, you can really get a satisfying line through there, and it just feels so amazing. But yeah, overall, been really happy with the car as it is right now. It's working out pretty well. It's going really strong. I actually had another one prepared. I was trying to take the Daffy, the 2CV lookalike. It's a handful, even with that slow of an engine. So in the end, I decided that going for consistency, besides the car feeling a bit slower, despite it, I felt that was a better choice here. Also, the Mini just looks amazing. Coming back around on the coastal road here. Yeah, we're just doing lap after lap. Every lap is about maybe a minute or so. As you can see on the left, it's likely even a bit shorter. Sad that the lap times not update within the race. It's always gonna be only the first lap, and with how chaotic that can be, it's really hard to tell how long an average lap on this track lasts. But yeah, 4th position right now, going really well, and just being able to take this, maybe not like that, but if you get this right, I swear this is a really good and fun line. But yeah, I just didn't have the best time through where I spun out a little bit, and that just didn't really work out. But hey, we got a good another few laps to go here. We are about 1/3 through the event, or at least through this race, I mean. So there's still a lot of stuff that can happen. And that might even include getting a better position here, at least I hope so. I remember a few things happening, and I think some of it might lead to me getting into 3rd place. I'm not entirely sure anymore. So we'll have to find out together here. Again, this is from the backlog. This race is actually a few weeks old at this point. But yeah, for a while, Raging, Chessboard and Vormir were fighting for a position there, and Vormir has now fallen back a little bit. So that might be an opening for myself. Hopefully Chess and Raging continue fighting for 1st position, which might also slow both of them down and give me another opening here. But yeah, Vormir coming back into view for at least a moment there. It's already a good sign that I might be able to catch up a little bit. And there could also potentially be a lot of lapping happening here. Since we have so many laps on such a short track, there's a good chance that we are going to catch up to the slower people. So this event, for how short some of the tracks are and how many laps we are doing on them, that alone gives it a very different feel than a lot of the other stuff. It's just that with how the game works out, you can really only make short layouts on the city tracks. A lot of the other ones don't really have a lot of options for that. And even then, it's really hard to make a short layout that still feels worthwhile. Like, you still have a good amount of corner variety, a good amount of different things happening, and it's not just 4 corners around a block or something. Yeah, I'm slowly catching up to Vormir, and I think he might also be lapping somebody. Yeah, that's before the end there, and that's the person in last place currently. Also slowly overheating. Theoretically, you could go to the neighboring repair station at the other dealership there. Yeah, this one. This is what I remember. Okay, we might have to rewind that a little bit. So what happened here? This is definitely a desync thing. I saw an opening here, and I'm pretty sure that on Vormir's perspective, I won't be in this position right now. I'm likely somewhere behind him, and what's happening now is that basically, on my perspective, he is pushing me. The game is always trying to get me in the same position, both on my screen and on everybody else's. So while he is pushing me here, on his screen, I'm likely pushing him because the game is trying to get me back to this position, and in which case, basically, Vormir is kind of in the middle of a Skira sandwich over here. I'm in front of him on my screen, I'm likely behind him on his screen, so he is somewhere in the middle between both of my superpositions. And that can only mean one thing, and that is absolute destruction and chaos. And if you look at the amount of damage that I took from that, yeah, destruction is exactly what we have here. But yeah, I could go to the luxury dealership, go for a lengthy repair session. That would be a really long pit stop there because I have to get off the track, go around the back of that building, and then come back to here. Not amazing, so not really what I'm choosing to do. I mean, theoretically, I could maybe do this with roadside service. Just towing to the garage and then maybe resetting right back to the road here. That might work. Would have to try it. But yeah, so far no luck on that end. But yeah, I managed to get into second place regardless. Well, I mean, third place. Second is currently Raging, and I think, yeah, Raging and Shaz are still very close to each other and likely fighting for position for the entire race. But yeah, I'm running into a bit of an issue because my car is now damaged. Engine damage is going to slow me down, and especially radiator damage can be fatal. But thankfully we don't have long straights on this one, quite the opposite. So while this is really slowing me down a little bit when it comes to my engine power and acceleration and all that kind of thing, it's kind of unlikely that I'll be overheating too much. I'm still trying to stay in low RPM at some points here, like this one right here, just to cool down a little bit. It's also going to give me more capacity to be faster later if I need to be, if my temperatures aren't too high. If I run into a problem where I feel like I really need to go real fast for a moment, maybe to fend off Vormir or catch up to somebody in front of me, and I'm then just overheating when it's only going to make my my position harder to defend. So keeping the temperatures low in case I need to go faster is not the worst idea. Before we end, pulled over. And there's Tierman over there being at the dealership, likely going for a repair. I don't know if they forfeit the race or just gonna get back there. And Zolden there in the card, I think, is just for spectator reasons. I might also have to host a kart race at some point. We recently did one as a bit of a pre-race, and it turned out to be quite a lot of fun. Even on a track that was meant for Formula SCM. So that might also be coming up at some point. Might be using this track again, I'm not entirely sure. And yeah, now I'm right in front of Vormir. We are in the last lap, by the way. So only have to make it a few more turns, and I think Vormir is also just fighting with the car quite a bit. But here we go. Finished the race in third position, which, considering all the damage that I took from that one incident, worked out quite nicely. Also, funnily enough, I always upload the raw footage without any commentary and all of that, just for the people on TWL to see the stuff. And the thumbnails for all of these races always were featuring that one incident that happened during the race. So none of them are going to be fully without incident, but the thumbnail algorithm of YouTube managed to consistently get that one thing in there, which is kind of hilarious. Anyway, second race. This is the same tag that we used for the oh god, what was the thing again? The Pulse race. I'm glad to do this now with non-EV because, as I mentioned before, EVs are kind of a pain in this game. Might have to try that. I don't know what happened there. I might have to try that thing without or with traction control at some point. Might be better. Oh yeah, I remember now what happened. So this was during a time where I was easily distractible, and I think right before the whole thing started here, I don't know if it's in the recording or right before that, I saw one of the race participants who is going to just stay out of this one, go across the racetrack here because they wanted to go to the repair station. Yeah, there he is here before the end. The road further down the line here to the right, that's part of the racetrack. This is how we get back into this area. And me seeing the name tag there distracted me so much that I was still in neutral and completely missed the start. So good job me. This is also why I'm not doing any live commentary on these, because I have enough trouble focusing on the racing. Here we go, first turn, going around and down to the lower level of the city, going back up with the next turn. I think I've mentioned this before, but this is basically a track which Chess and me have come up with together. We were looking for more city layouts, and this part of the downtown section, this is what Chess came up with. I had a good idea for the Gang Young section, and in the end we just put them together for the layout. And I ended up making this track, but also another version of this, which includes part of the chicane sector from the race beforehand. So there's another version of this which is a bit different in the downtown area, and I'm not going to use it in this event because then we would just be doing the same roads in the same way for a few things here, and I don't want to do that. So for variety's sake we are using this version again, which is also really nice. I especially love this corner right here. And yeah, maybe at a later point we'll be doing the other version. Yeah, this is one of the corners which I really like, because you can really set up very nicely on the parking lot there. Coming up and around over here. This is maybe one of the sections which I should have maybe considered cutting from the track, but it felt really nice at the time. If you get it right and don't have any run-in with other people there. But yeah, I'm falling back down into 8th position. I have a decent gap to 9th position, and once again, before the end, isn't really participating here, just retuning their car in order to have a better time for hopefully the next one. I also wish we could get rid of speed bumps. They are really disruptive for racing. Coming back around for the second lap of potentially 4 right here. Also very interesting livery on the car in front of me. Scott Maffino in front of me with the face and the sides. Conjoined twins apparently stuck together with the top of their heads on the top of the car there. Since the top part of a circle doesn't really do the full go around there. Whatever. I hope you understand what I mean. I'm just saying that the skulls of the left side of the face livery and the right side are kind of conjoined. But I'm having a really hard time getting past them, so currently stuck in 8th position. Potential to do something better here, but also just having to get a good amount of speed through some of these turns. I mean, that turn there with a wide turn to begin with, just narrowing down and then going past the police station, that's a really nice one. And coming back around over here, doing a weird setup, really not sure why I'm driving like this sometimes, but yeah, once again, with some of the stuff that was happening during the time, I wasn't fully focusing on that. I'm still having some trouble here and there. So I really can't lock in for all of these races as much as I wish I could. But that was a beautiful overtake there. So we are now in 7th position, and more importantly, we don't have anybody in front of us. So hopefully being able to catch up to somebody else here, or at least get a bit of distance between me and the person behind me. And yeah, this time around it was on me to miss the braking spot. Drifting around the bottom part here is also quite fun. Works out really well in these slower cars. And I gotta say, this track is definitely a lot more enjoyable in these cars compared to the Pulse. The Pulse is just so much of a handful. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be using it again. It's just... once again, I should probably try it with traction control on. But as it was, that event was absolutely annoying. And this is just a much more enjoyable drive. So while I have already put this event back into the drafts for another round, I'll definitely have to also try out using a slower engine. I mean, right now we are driving the slow Shitbox Showdown. There's nobody saying that there won't be a slower Shitbox Showdown, and maybe we might even go down to the H2 engine, which is the slowest in the game, which would be then, of course, give us the slowest Shitbox Showdown. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if I will be going with that last one, but I'll definitely have to try out the, what is it, 50 horsepower engine? 70? I'm not entirely sure what the next step down is. But that one might also be a good one. Slower cars often make for good racing, and while some horsepower beasts with a lot of torque can be quite fun, especially for rally racing where you really get to do the drifts and have a lot of fun around serpentines. For this kind of city racing, going slower than the 150 horsepower regular ones, this is definitely one to be repeated. If cars end up being too powerful, you often end up with problems where you're more fighting the car than really trying to go for good lines, and having the car under control is a skill on its own. Having good tunes for it is something that you can work on, but yeah, to some degree I like cars that are not like boring to drive, but if you can really hone in on the racecraft, hone in on your lines that you're taking, and that's what's making the difference, that's the racing that I really enjoy. Always attempting to go on the inside there, cut the whole thing a little bit, but usually not a good idea. The small cars are definitely not stable enough for that. But yeah, we are on the last lap now. Last time I'll be going through this turn. Steven being somewhat close in front, but also still decently far away, but I don't think I'll be catching up to him unless there's a problem or mistake on his part. Which is more like what I'm doing right now. That was close to spinning out. But with my front wheel drive, I was able to just really back in, get the back in line and keep going. Yeah, this one is also fun if you get a good line through here. So many consecutive right-hand turns. But yeah, this is definitely a good track for slower cars, and this race has worked out quite well. This has also been a break in a sense, because both the first and the last track are really short with a lot of laps, so having something that's a bit more like the regular stuff that we are doing most of the time in the middle worked out pretty fine in my opinion. But yeah, on to the last race. We are at Olle Speedway, which I don't think we've ever done a race on, at least not right here, at least not after the event feature got added. I was actually surprised to find that there wasn't track layout saved for this already, so I mean it wasn't really a lot of work. I just put down the checkpoints, edited the width a little bit to include the curbs, and that was it. And I mean, Not like this one needed a lot of checkpoints to begin with. There, here we go. Bit of a kerfuffle happening in front of me. First turn, gonna try to stay on the inside. Try to be quick and not run into any problems, but can't always guarantee that. The steerman overtaking me on the inside. Seems like there might be something going on with the suspension. Seems to be really soft and almost lifting up the rear tire on the turns there. Might also be some lag issues or something, that the position and the facing of the car might not be that accurate. There's a bit of popcorning going on with him just being a bit jittery. And Scott Mofino trying to go into on the inside there. Also tried that, he got run up on the curbs, and I honestly wish we got a curb update. The ones that you have in-game are rough. Rough to the point where they are really hard to really get on, and they're usually ending with somebody spinning out. Okay, 2 people inside the same space there, that's not really recommendable. I was trying to maybe get a bit of a leg up on both of them at that point, but that didn't really work out. Curious what it would have looked like on their perspectives. But from my perspective, for one moment, 2 cars became 1. Which, considering the horsepower limitations, might be against the rules and they should both be disqualified. I think there's an argument to be made for that. Never mind. But yeah, I'm kinda stuck in position 7 right now. I don't know if there's really any corner where I could be faster, where I could be capitalizing on how the other people are driving. I mean, that was definitely not the best way to go through the last turn. But yeah, it's really hard to overtake here. I mean, there are a few viable lines. You can take this apex sooner, later, not at all if you don't hit the braking spot. So there are a few things that we can try, and I think especially with this one, if you manage to get a good line where you take the first apex late and then go straight for the second one, or with only a bit of a curve going around, I think that would be preferable. But that's a really hard line to get. Steven apparently disconnected. It's always said you don't want to have anybody ending the race because of just a disconnect. That always kinda sucks. Yeah, somebody in front of me managed to slightly spin out, so I might be getting closer. Not sure if I can really do anything about this. Also, another thing that I don't like about the curbs is that they work differently if you go the other direction. So right now from this end they are basically little ramps going into one another. For the other direction would be hitting the sharp edge, and that's even rougher than what we have right here. So if they worked the same in both directions, we could actually potentially run a few tracks in reverse, including Anson Speedway, which honestly might not even be that great in reverse. It's likely one of those layouts that work better one direction than the other. Okay, here we got Zolden, who is actually getting lapped, and I think it's running the game at 30 FPS, and for some reason this is what it looks like when it comes to networking, so getting smooth half the time and then not the other half. I'm now in 6th position. I didn't even notice the overtake, to be honest. This is how much attention I'm having to this while recording the voiceover. I'm sorry. We are almost 50% through the race. So once again, this is a pretty long one when it comes to the amount of laps, just because the track is like 44 seconds a lap. But yeah, it's a nice little difference with how it works out. This is something that I also like to do for endurance events. I mean, we did the 50-minute race on Gijou Grand Tour, but usually I like to use shorter tracks, because when you get a bit of lapping going on here and there, and even if you are way up in front, that at least does give you a bit of stuff to do besides just keeping an eye on the track. You don't want to have too many laps, but I think when it comes to trying to simulate something like the 24 hours of a Nordschleife or Le Mans or something like that, stuff like that I love doing in GTA with the racing community, I think it's always worth considering that those races not only have a long track, but they also have a massively large starter base with how many cars are going around the track, that there is a certain amount of traffic density. And this was my incident for this race here. Like, Zeki just completely plowing through me. I really didn't like how that overtake, or more like an overtake out, went through, but yeah, you never know what's been looking like for the other person. So yeah, that was amazing on my end. But yeah, I try to keep in mind how traffic dense those massively long endurance races are. And sometimes in order to get a good feel, it might be better to try and emulate the traffic density on a short track that has some of the same characteristics in terms of corner variety and speeds, than trying to go for a track that's just about the same length. Because at some point you are just gonna be alone on the long tracks, and that's not how those endurance races turn out. And the one thing that I also love seeing with these races, just keep an eye on the left and the percentages. They seem to update for every checkpoint or so, so just seeing how many people are on the same percentage is really giving a good idea on how close everybody is still together here. I'm getting lapped by Shaz and decided to just stay out of the way. Shaz having a bit of problem with the person in front there, but yeah, that's actually 4 position for me, so this might be something that I can capitalize on if I do this correctly. There's also Zolden coming up for another lapping over here, which is something that all 3 of us have to do. Chessboard likely lapped Zolden for 1 more time than anybody else here, but yeah, we also have to get past them, and I might be able to do something about this. But Zolden thankfully staying on the outside, leaving us the inside, and making it really easy to get past here. So nothing really happening, but I'm still trying to get something done, get position number 6 if I can. But we are slowly running out of race time, so also gonna keep that in mind. But I'm slowly getting closer, but really just slowly inching my way forward, so this might still need another lap or so. I think Chess might be on the last lap right now, so we should still have 2 laps to go. And this is also something that I like, that you have a race that might be a bit uneventful for some parts, and suddenly when it comes down to it at the end, you're suddenly getting back into a real fight for position again. Raging coming up behind me for another lapping potentially, but yeah, I think chess is done now, meaning that raging is also done, and therefore no more blue flags right here. And yeah, I'm trying to do my best. We are on the last lap now, still trying to get an overtake somehow, but I don't think I'll be able to manifest it. I don't think I can just make it happen. We are really close to the steerman over here, but it's just still too far. And that's it for this event. 3 races, lot of fun, and once again, this is something to be repeated, potentially even with slower cars, and we'll have to see how that one works out. But yeah, for this one, that's all. As always, if you want to join the stuff, look in the description for the invite link for the TWL Discord server, where you can find all the info for the events a few days before they go down. So, as per usual, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. And until then, have a good one and bye bye.